Yesterday, on Front Page, we predicted every major announcement coming out of OpenAI Dev Day 2025. And we were right. From ChatGPT apps to Agent Kit, Codex, and GPT-5 Pro, we said OpenAI was about to turn ChatGPT into an operating system for the AI world. And that's exactly what happened. If you missed that breakdown, go check it out because today we go much deeper into the real story that's reshaping the AI global race. The story everyone missed. The AMD OpenAI alliance that just changed everything. While the world was watching product demos, Sam Altman quietly closed one of the biggest tech partnerships of the decade. OpenAI will deploy 6 gigawatts of AMD Instinct GPUs, starting with 1 gigawatt in 2026 and scaling to 6 gigawatt over multiple years. In return, AMD has granted OpenAI warrants for up to 160 million shares, nearly 10% of AMD's equity, vested only upon performance and deployment milestones. This, well, isn't just a purchase order. It's actually a strategic fusion of compute, capital, and control. The first deal where AI infrastructure itself becomes a currency. Wall Street has never seen anything like it. AMD's stock soared 30% in a single trading day, marking one of the sharpest valuation jumps in semiconductor history. Because, well, this deal gives AMD what it's been chasing for years, a front row seat in the AI boom long dominated by Nvidia. And also, it gives OpenAI something even bigger: independence. For years, Nvidia's hardware bottlenecks have limited OpenAI's ambitions. Now, with AMD's Instinct MI450 series powering future models, OpenAI finally owns its compute destiny. 6 gigawatts of compute. Well, that's more power than some countries consume. Each phase of this build out, from MI450 deployment to next gen energy partnerships, will redefine what AI infrastructure even means. AMD and OpenAI will work with hyperscalers like Oracle Cloud, nuclear energy providers, and modular data center operators to make this possible. This isn't just a GPU deal, it's actually a planet scale infrastructure project, one that fuses silicon, software, and power into a single global ecosystem. For the last half decade, Nvidia has owned the AI revolution, from training GPT models to powering every major lab in the world. But this deal, well, changes the map. AMD becomes the new co-pilot of the AI era, focused on inference, not training, and powering ChatGPT's multimodal apps, real-time voice models, and multi-agent workflows. Lisa Su called it, this is what she said, a win-win for the ecosystem, end quote. Sam Altman called it compute sovereignty. Analysts are actually calling it the first real challenge to NVIDIA's dominance. In traditional tech, customers buy hardware. In this new AI world, they buy into it. OpenAI now owns a piece of its supplier. NVIDIA owns a piece of OpenAI. It's actually circular capitalism, a feedback loop of investment, innovation, and interdependence. AMD gets guaranteed multi-year demand worth billions. OpenAI gets leverage, early access, and preferred pricing. This is not just a partnership, this is the birth of the compute economy. Yesterday's Dev Day, well, proved that OpenAI is no longer a software company. It's actually building an AI operating system powered by hardware alliances, energy ecosystems, and developer ecosystems. ChatGPT apps put productivity inside conversations. Agent Kit turns every user into a creator. Codex automates software itself. And now AMD powers it all. So, what's actually the result? OpenAI controls the full stack, from interface to silicon. And, of course, joining us today is Ramesh Pudukode, a veteran technologist with over 37 years of global IT experience spanning finance, retail, and cloud infrastructure. having worked across platforms from Unix to AWS and now serving as a financial advisor at Prime Rika. Ramesh, well, brings a rare blend of technical and financial insight. He actually joins us as an analyst for the very first time on Front Page to share his perspective on the AMD OpenAI partnership, what it means for the AI hardware ecosystem, and how this deal could reshape the future of compute economics. Welcome to Front Page, Ramesh. Pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks, Sudhi, for inviting me.
All right. Well, Ramesh, let's get right into it. Let's get into decoding as far as this historic deal is concerned. What's actually, it's unlike anything that the tech industry has ever seen. So basically, I want to ask you this right off the bat. How does one even begin to make sense of this?
This has come, I think, looks like it's a surprise. And I don't think the market has expected. And yesterday, as you have mentioned, the shares just shot up.
Yes,
It's
30%.
30%, and then it settled down to about 24%, 23,
Hmm,
24%,
hmm,
but still. And then uh, the OpenAI president and Dr. Lisa Su, AMD CEO, they were all in all channels yesterday glorifying this pact,
hmm.
which is really, mm, I mean, it is really, really interesting how they came up with this deal,
Sure.
where, as you mentioned very clearly in your nice summary, that they have to start 1 gigahertz implementation by 2026, and after
Yes.
that, the thing. And the surprising thing is they are getting shares at 0.01 cent
Wow. Wow.
warrants.
Wow.
160 million
Yeah.
shares. And you know
Yeah.
what, Sudhi, you know what the price of AMD yesterday was? Like $230. That means they're probably getting it for like um, 23 cents or something like that.
Wow.
you know uh,
Right.
but of course they have a lot of milestones. OpenAI has to reach some
Sure,
milestones.
sure, sure. And it is actually
Okay.
based on that, the milestones in the deployment aspect. The power shift, Ramesh, do you see this as a power shift? Because OpenAI's 10% stake makes AMD, well, a core part of its $1 trillion compute roadmap, breaking Nvidia's near monopoly. So basically, do you think this partnership signals the beginning of true compute sovereignty for OpenAI, or is it just diversification theater? Can AMD realistically challenge Nvidia's dominance at scale, or will it remain just a, well, a strategic hedge rather than a true rival?
I think, Sudhi, I feel that it may not over over dominate Nvidia, because see, Nvidia is they have this CUDA, this parallel,
Yes,
software, which is a very, very strong base. They started in 2012, 2011, around that time.
right.
And it's been going on, and they have like millions of developers across the world. And they have a nice for it takes, I would say, even though I think OpenAI, I mean, AMD has come up with the MI350, MI450 series things, chips. We have
MI450,
to see
yes.
how, yeah, and we have to see how it will perform against the Blackwell and the new chips that Nvidia comes for. If it turns out to be great, yeah, it might sustain, but who knows? I mean, after the first initial 1 gigahertz thing, it may fall out too. This contract, if the performance of these chips do not match with Nvidia's, then who knows? This
Hmm,
contract may not even sustain. Okay, well, a lot of things are up in the air now. Can they create this software ecosystem like Nvidia? It's not
hmm,
that simple, in my opinion. Because that's where even the Chinese models will have a problem, because I
hmm.
mean, sorry, the Chinese chips will also have a problem, because this whole CUDA, this whole software base, that ecosystem that Nvidia
Yes.
created over a period, decade and odd, is not easy to replicate. I mean, I'm not saying it's not good, it cannot be overtaken, but it's not that simple, I feel. Yeah.
No, fair enough, Ramesh. But at least what I could gather is the fact at least it's a good start. I mean, there has been a monopoly, and it is a good start, which actually brings me to the next thought. which is as far as AMD's MI450 rollout starts in 2026. You just mentioned that, scaling to about 6 gigawatts, a commitment worth tens of billions. Fair. AMD's deal gives OpenAI massive supply guarantees. But the question is at what cost? And here is what I would like for you to shed light on. Are we looking at the start of a compute bubble where companies exchange equity for chips, or is this simply the new way of financing AI infrastructure moving forward?
There are two schools of thought, as you said. There's
Hmm.
one which says it's a bubble, it could happen. It's like the dot-com bubble where
Sure.
a lot of companies just they disappeared.
Hmm.
There is another school of thought, like Jeff Bezos was in Italy last week, I mean a couple of days ago, and he said even if it's a bubble, there is legs to this boom, because
Hmm.
just like we had the dark fiber and the fiber companies got wiped out,
Hmm.
then the Amazons, the Googles, the Metas and all made use of the internet system, and then Netflix and all that, and they came out of this one. For you got these the ecosystem developed. That's what Bezos says. Therefore he says even if there is it could be a some companies might get wiped out, the infrastructure will be created, because
Sure.
all these data centers, these AI data centers across the world, even in India, for example, we have got commitments from OpenAI and from
Hmm.
other
Hmm.
things, to set up these things with Reliance. For
Hmm.
all these things will not go away, because we still need, I mean, people still use all
Yeah.
these data has to be stored, and
True.
have, therefore it may not be a complete wipeout, but I think there could be a bubble happening too. I mean, it's, but we have to see how it goes. Some people are saying it's a 96 moment, some people are saying it's a 99 moment, but we don't know exactly what it is.
So wait and watch is what you are prescribing, Ramesh.
Is
Well,
what I yeah, yeah, I think, but the market is like is like ignoring everything. I mean, it's booming, the
yes.
market.
Yes.
Yesterday Nvidia dropped only by 1%.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Circular, the circular capital aspect. As I had mentioned, I'll draw your attention to it again. Nvidia owns a stake in OpenAI. Now OpenAI owns AMD. This AI capital loop has investors divided. So Ramesh, with Nvidia holding a stake in OpenAI and now OpenAI owning a slice of AMD, are we actually seeing innovation or, well, incestuous financing? How sustainable is this circular economy where, basically tech giants effectively fund each other's growth?
Yes, you are absolutely correct. And remember, Microsoft has got a stake in OpenAI,
Yes.
and and uh, this circular economy. It might. That's what everyone feels like. This circular economy sounds like some alarming signs are there,
Hmm.
but
Why do you
yesterday
say
Lee
that though?
Suh,
Why do you say that, Ramesh? In terms of it being alarming signs, why do you say that?
because what if let's say one link in this chain is the weakest link. Let's
Hmm.
assume that we
Hmm.
don't know which link is that. Is it
Hmm.
OpenAI? If
Hmm.
OpenAI is the link that is the biggest way, that will be like the whole chain gets snapped off, because
Correct.
everyone is dependent on OpenAI yesterday in the dev
In the dev
conference
day, yeah.
yesterday. Yeah, dev day conference. Thank you. They mentioned like 6 billion tokens are
Yes.
being generated every minute. Okay,
Right. Yeah.
now they are losing a lot of money. They are losing billions per month. OpenAI.
Hmm.
Okay, but
Hmm.
they don't care. They are like the Amazon of 2000. They are, I think people are saying it. They are like Amazon lost for 12, 15 years
Hmm.
money, but then they went on this growth model. For Sam Altman says, oh, we want to be like the growth model, rather we don't worry about the thing, because they're getting a lot of capital. They're just raising capital like crazy. And therefore, if one of the links to answer your question, what if OpenAI is the weakest link here, then what will
Hmm.
happen to Nvidia, AMD? There is other companies around it, and even it might affect even Anthropic, the whole
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
Oh, It's a very
But
no,
I
I
mean,
mean,
Ramesh, in when you've of course you've mentioned the obvious aspect of the fact that one company could be a weakest link. Also, if you were to look at it from the other part of the lens, which could be the fact that since there is a circular loop, each company is actually going ahead and ensuring that they're buffering each other up so that nobody seems to create a vacuum of sorts somewhere down the road. That could also be another benefit as far as this is concerned. I don't know what you feel about that.
you are right, but let me play a devil's advocate here. What if the users, okay, ultimately they have to make money, okay, they have to get the
Sure.
revenue. What if the corporates didn't do not see the productivity?
Hmm.
Okay, what if the users do not see the gains in it? Like thing, we don't want just one more app instead of the Google app store, and you have
Hmm.
the what do you call, the Apple's app store, and we just don't. There should be some productivity gains in this one.
Fair.
Otherwise, what if there is the demand falls out? I
Hmm.
mean, that's the question here. What if yesterday, like for example, Deloitte to some company signed with Anthropic 450,000 licenses, okay?
Hmm. Hmm.
And my question is, let's say they give for a year or two, and if they don't see productivity in the thing, we should see productivity in manufacturing, in retail, in banking, in finance, in name it, everywhere, in healthcare. What
Hmm.
if there is no productivity gains? uh, then what will happen? Will the companies keep spending money on these licenses,
No,
and
fair
will
enough.
OpenAI,
Hmm.
therefore it's something no one knows. I mean, we should, I would say maybe it will take 2 3 4 years before we know exactly what's going to happen.
What's
In the
finally cooking?
meanwhile, they are
Yeah.
pouring, yeah. In the meanwhile, they are pouring in like $1 trillion, $400 billion. All these companies, seven mega,
Yes.
like they're pouring like 300 $400 billion a year. Therefore, it's a iffy thing. I mean, no one knows the show for sure.
Which actually brings perfectly us to the next point, which is the tech performance. You just had alluded to that, Ramesh. AMD's MI450 GPUs are meant to compete with Nvidia's H200s and Blackwell chips, as you had mentioned earlier. But CUDA's ecosystem still dominates. That's a point you made. Performance wise, can AMD's Instinct GPUs really deliver on OpenAI's scale ambitions beyond hardware? Does AMD have the software ecosystem like CUDA to support the complex agentic workloads OpenAI is building? You, of course, mentioned it's taken NVIDIA to build that ecosystem over more than a decade. Fair. But moving forward, do you feel that that would be a point of concentration as far as AMD is concerned?
I think the software is the key. I feel, Sudhi, here, because
Hmm.
it's not the just the processor; it's the software, it's the ecosystem. For That's where the strength of us thing is, whether it's Nvidia or AMD.
Hmm.
Just because we have a processor chip, which may be fast in clock time and all that, but what about the whole ecosystem, the software? That's
Fair.
where the gains are. For we can't declare that Nvidia is having a threat right now immediately
Hmm.
based on
Hmm.
this agreement, but it does give, saying Nvidia has to be, I mean, watch, I mean, they have to watch out that there is competition coming down the road. I
Which
mean,
is
it
always a
may or
good
may not
thing,
happen.
Ramesh. Honestly speaking,
Yeah.
competition is always good. It tends to inspire innovation. It tends to inspire a lot of the factors. You're less complacent for that matter. So I think it is a good thing in a positive way if one was to look at it. And of course, AMD building up that software ecosystem, as you mentioned.
Yes, absolutely. Competition is necessary. Right now, we only have two of them. Remember, Intel is not in the picture right now,
Yeah, yeah.
and there is another company, inference chip called Grok, which is
Hmm.
coming. They have established. They have clients in Middle East, in UAE, some AI data center, but that's a very small player, very tiny player.
Sure.
Therefore, you won't have too many competition in this one. Therefore, Nvidia is the 90%, 95% of the
Yep.
installations today. Sudhi, by the way, today XAI,
Mm-hmm.
the Musk company,
Mm-hmm.
is rumored to order about $20 billion worth of Nvidia chips for its
Wow.
Colossus second super AI cluster which they are
Hmm.
establishing. Okay,
Hmm.
first one is already there. Second one for a half a million thing they're going to do. Therefore, Nvidia is still gets about 95 is still getting 95% of
Sure.
the market share. For example, in India too, we are getting it from Nvidia. Now we have about 35. A lot of
Yes.
chips are coming from. Okay, therefore I don't think it's a we can the jury can declare saying, hey, this is the win. I mean, sorry, AMD is going to be a competitor. It may turn out to be a competitor. Who knows? But we don't know um, till a few years from now. I feel
But at least,
we have to
but at
see.
least it's a good start, I believe, Ramesh. And AMD should definitely. I'm pretty sure they would be aspiring to go ahead and give that positive competition to Nvidia. Which actually brings me to this fact, and this would have definitely helped as far as AMD's excitement and positivity is concerned, because well, the stock jumped over 30% as we discussed post announcement. Its biggest rally in years. So well, do you see this rally, Ramesh, as a sustainable re-rating of AMD's AI potential, or just speculative euphoria? Because while investors celebrate, execution, not enthusiasm, will actually decide if AMD can keep up with Nvidia's pace.
That is the point. You made the right word there. Execution. Now,
Hmm.
will it yesterday the market was all this euphoria. Oh, we got this. Oh, AMD is like is going to be a competitor, and therefore there was this thing. And also AMD CEO Lisa Su went on all channels and then said, hey, if you question it, it's a defeatist attitude. I mean, I'm not say
Hmm.
she didn't say exactly those words, but I'm paraphrasing it,
Sure.
um, for I think there is some market hype of AMD 30%, but will it sustain in the third quarter when they announce the results? And there will be when the analyst starts questioning, and they will get an idea about it. Then we would know whether it is really this rise has got legs or not. We will know by third or fourth quarter. We will know that, um,
Fair enough.
because then how the plan implementation is and all that stuff. How OpenAI, and by
Sure.
the way, OpenAI is also might face competition from Gemini, which is coming next week.
Right.
They are
Right.
releasing. Okay,
Right. It's
for
right around the corner.
then you
Yes.
have Anthropic is on the enterprise B2B type of a thing. Anthropic is
Yes.
doing extremely well. Okay,
Yes.
for uh, we have to see whether how all this how OpenAI is putting computing power like there is no tomorrow,
True.
and whether they need all this computing power or not, and how a lot of other guys, there is a lot of things. But as you said, the execution part for AMD is will determine whether
Is the
this
key.
is sustainable or not. Yeah.
Yes, it's the key. Fair enough. There is
Yep.
jubilation right now, but it needs to be well followed up. They need to walk the talk. OpenAI now has multi-billion-dollar deals with both Nvidia and AMD, totaling nearly $1 trillion in future compute. What does this
Yeah.
tell us, Ramesh, about the future of AI infrastructure? Are we moving towards a world where AI companies own parts of every chip maker, or will this lead to an eventual consolidation, one company controlling both silicon and software?
I don't know whether there would. I think there may not be consolidation between. If you are asking whether Nvidia and AMD will there be, because these are the main two players.
Hmm,
Because right
hmm.
now Intel has been sidelined. Therefore,
Yes.
I don't know whether there will be consolidation in the AI chip market. Now we don't know what's going to happen. By the way, we have to take into account the Chinese chip makers too, like Huawei and all that. Okay, how they
Sure.
will come up with. Okay,
Hmm, hmm.
for um, even though in the most of the Western world, the American chip makers will find their market. It's very difficult for the Chinese to get into, I feel. Okay.
Fair.
um, on the software side, when you say software, I'm assuming you're talking about the OpenAI
Yes.
or the Anthropic and thing, the models, the LLMs. Yes,
Yes.
that is a concern, because how many players right now? We have five players, five major players. Okay,
Hmm.
OpenAI, Anthropic, XAI, Gemini, and Meta,
Hmm.
Llama. Okay.
Hmm.
And maybe they may not all may not be there. I'm sure the OpenAI, Gemini, and Anthropic will be there. The question is, I'm having doubts about XAI and Llama.
Oh wow. Okay.
Because
Okay.
their market share is still very small. I think I was looking yesterday, nearly 80% of the traffic is with OpenAI, and the
Yes.
rest of them are all having like 5%, 4%, 3%, 2%, and all. That's all they have.
Hmm.
DeepSeek is also 3% or something. Even though DeepSeek we had this big thing news on about DeepSeek in January, February of this year.
Hmm.
It hasn't gone up beyond that 3%
Mark.
thing, okay,
Hmm.
mark.
Hmm.
Therefore, but the DeepSeek will be there because it's a Chinese government will make sure that it's not going to go anywhere, and it's an open source and all that stuff. But in this one, in the American models, you don't know how many of them will survive. You are right. After we would know, maybe again after 3-4 years, whether because you have to keep constantly putting this much investment capex, and how long can they sustain without any returns, and
Okay. Okay.
and one more thing, Sudhi, yesterday, if you look at it, the apps, OpenAI is getting into apps very seriously. Therefore,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
they are going to go and eliminate a lot of these wrapper agentic
Hmm. Hmm.
startups,
Hmm.
and
Right.
it's going to get for them, you know.
Okay. So, well, Ramesh, your final thoughts, very briefly, as far as this huge development is concerned. Your final take, as far as this deal is concerned, OpenAI and AMD. What do you see?
I agree with you. It's a good thing for a competition. We need more companies. We need
True.
more chip companies. More, I hope AMD will become a serious player and then give competition to Nvidia. Absolutely, it's a great news. I mean, I'm not. I'm on that front. I'm not at all this thing. Disappointed. It's a great thing that we have some competition,
Sure.
and we have to see whether it will sustain. That's the only thing. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Ramesh, thank you so much for joining us. It was a true pleasure speaking with you. Of course, as you've said, that one needs to wait and watch and see how the execution will flow. We'll, of course, keep checking back in with you, Ramesh, for your insights on future front pages. We look forward to you coming on to the show. Thank you so much again. Well,
Thank you
ladies
very
and
much,
gentlemen,
Sudhi, and I had a great time at our conference too. It's very nice.
hey,
Yeah,
thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed meeting with you there as well. Of course, Ramesh is
thank you.
mentioning
Thank
Cypher. It was a lot of fun having him there as well.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Saifan.
thanks
Yeah,
so much,
yeah.
Ramesh. Well,
Thank you.
all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. As far as this particular deal is concerned, we've all heard what Ramesh feels, but this is what our final understanding and takeaway is. OpenAI's Dev Day may have actually dazzled the developers, but this AMD deal is what truly defines the next decade of AI. ChatGPT now owns the interface, AMD owns the infrastructure, and Sam Altman owns the narrative. This isn't just about intelligence anymore. It's actually about power, literal, electrical, and economic. Because in 2025, the most valuable resource on earth isn't data or code, it's compute. And OpenAI just made sure it will never, ever run out again. Well, for right now, we're going to take a short little break on front page, and then we're going to be back with lots more. So, well, till then, think AI, think AIM.